Hi all, Satyam here and this is the fifth video in our TypeScript series. Now in this video we are going to see what is any type in TypeScript and when you should use it, how you should use it, where you should use it and why you should not use it, because it's not a good idea to use any type in your code. Then we are going to see a setting called NoImplicitAny in TypeScript configuration. Now this setting will help you to make sure that there are no automatic any assumptions in your TypeScript code, okay? Because TypeScript does assume that a variable or a particular thing is of any type automatically. So how to block it or how to actually turn that off, that's what the TypeScript setting actually does. Now let's just get started. So first of all, what is any type, right? So any is not actually a type. First of all, any is like a marker or a way in TypeScript to turn off the type checking for a particular piece of code, okay? And that is why any is not something that you use to actually make your code more readable, maintainable, manageable. Any is something that you use when you have no other option, okay? It is like the last thing that you can use to just get the code working somehow, okay? Any is not something that you should use all the time. So we can understand it a little bit better with the help of code, okay? So I have this Visual Studio open in my laptop and I can just go ahead and create a new folder here. So I already have a TypeScript YouTube folder. In this I'm just gonna create a new folder for this video, and let's say the name of the folder is any, and no implicit any. Okay, we have a new folder. I'm just gonna drag and drop it here in the Visual Studio, and then we can actually start writing the code. So I'm gonna start here by creating a new file called index.ts, not tx. Okay, so we have a TypeScript file here. So now in this TypeScript file, let us start by creating a variable, okay? So let name of type any is equals to Satyam, okay? We have a variable here. So in this TypeScript file, let us start by creating a variable with any type, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and say var, or let's just say my variable, okay? My variable of type any equals let's just say first of all I want to store my name, okay, Satyam, and this works, right? Now the thing is that we have this variable here, the name is my variable and the type is any, which means this variable can actually store any type available in the TypeScript, okay, even the custom types also. So we can also create our own types and then we can store that in the my variable. Now the thing is that, or the problem is that here I am using my variable to store my name or a string. If I go ahead and in this place and I say my variable is equals to 9, now this also works, right? This also works, which should not work, because if I can on the first line assign a string to my variable, and then on the second line I can assign 9 to my variable, and on the third line I can assign, like, just say false, which means boolean, okay, I can assign boolean to my variable, then what is the difference between TypeScript and JavaScript? I mean, JavaScript does the same thing, right? We are using TypeScript just to make sure that we do not mess up this way, okay? We should not do this kind of thing. But if we are actually doing this kind of thing, or we are actually working in this way, then what is the difference between TypeScript and JavaScript? We might as well just go ahead and use JavaScript at this point, right? And that is why you should never use any, okay, until and unless it is the last thing that you can use to handle the situation or the scenario. And we are going to discuss a few examples of using any a little bit later in the video. So here we are using any, and this is how it works, right? We can just assign any value to this variable, which is of course not a good thing. Now let us see what is implicit any, okay? So if I just create a new variable where names, okay, and I just declare it, I do not give it any value, or I do not tell what type of this variable is, okay? So if I just hover over it, I will see that the type of this variable is simply any, right? Okay, the TypeScript automatically thinks that the names variable actually have any type, okay? And then if I just go ahead on the next line, if I say names is equals to, like, just say 9, and if I hover it right now over it, it is still any, which means automatically TypeScript is assuming that the names variable is always going to be of any type, okay? That means I can actually go ahead and say names is equals to Satyam. Okay, and this is also valid. So this is any type. Okay, when you are basically telling the TypeScript compiler with this way that okay, my variable is of any type, it is called explicit, okay, declaration. And when you are just expecting the TypeScript to figure out that the names variable will be of any type, it is called implicit. Now let us discuss a few real world scenarios where you can actually use any. Okay, and the first one is a file uploading service. So a file uploading service like Google Drive, okay, or Dropbox, you can upload any kind of file basically. Okay, you can upload media like audio, video, images. You can upload zip file, text documents. You can upload coding files. You can upload binary files. You can upload any kind of file that is available in the world, right? And so in order to handle all that stuff, what you can do is you can simply use any in your code, okay, in the server, and you can just decide how you want to deal with that data later on with the help of type guards. But to accept the data, you can simply use any. Okay, so that is one scenario where you can deal with that. Then there is one more scenario, and that is, I think, more useful. Okay, so there is a scenario with API calls. Okay, suppose that there is a team in your company, okay, which is working on a server or on the application API. Okay, they are creating APIs that will give you the data. Okay, and now you actually are trying to create your own application that will actually use those API. Okay, so you are working, they are working at the same time, and they are actually creating some APIs and telling you that okay, these APIs are done, you can use them. Okay, but nothing is stable on the server side. Okay, nothing is stable, they can change anything anytime. Okay, so now in your application, what you are doing is you are making API call to the server or to their application to get the data back. Okay, with the help of JSON object or fetch request. So you are getting the data, but the structure of that data is something that can change any day. So suppose that if I just create a structure, okay, let me just create a new file. So here I'm just gonna select JSON. Here if I just create a JSON structure like, I don't know, name Satyam. Okay, name is Satyam. Then age is, let's just say, 7,000. Okay, I am ancient, guys. I am totally Asian. Asian, not ancient. Man, that was bad. So let's just say next thing is height. How much height do I have? I don't know, like let's just say 88 feet. Okay, so this is a simple data, okay, that you can get from them, okay, from their APIs. Okay, and you expect the name to be a string, you expect the age to be a number, you expect the height to be a string. Okay, in your application, that's how you are dealing with it. You create models in your application to accept name as string, okay, age as number, okay, and height as string. And then since this server is in development mode, what they can do is they can change the structure of this JSON data. Okay, they can say that okay, age will now be a string and height will be a number. Okay, 88. And now this actually messed things up at your end. Okay, because you did not handle this scenario. Okay, you did not expect something like this to happen. And this is what happens a lot in when things are in development phase. A lot of things are changing all the time. So this is a very good scenario where you can actually just take whatever input is coming from the server, store it in an any type variable. Okay, you can just use this any type variable names and just store everything in that variable. And then later on, whenever you need to use, let's just say age, okay, you need to use age, then you can type check there, okay, that whether age is a number or a string. You can make manual checks there. And yes, there will be extra stuff, there will be a different way of working this way, but that's how actually you can use any. Okay, this is a very good situation where you can actually use the any type. Now of course, understand that once the stability comes in the server, okay, once they have decided that okay, this is how the structure of the JSON data will be, what you have to do is you have to take the data and now you have to create the models that will actually be compatible with the data. You can then you remove the any type from the code. You can actually change or refactor your code. That becomes very easy after that. So these are basically the two scenarios where you can actually think of using any in your code. Now let us understand what is no implicit any. Okay, so implicit any simply means, you did not tell the compiler that this variable is of any type, okay, but compiler or the TypeScript compiler automatically thinks that it is of any type, right, because you have not specified any other type. So any is the default. So what if you don't want this, like you are writing a lot of code and you don't want TypeScript compiler should automatically think that a variable is of any type, okay. TypeScript compiler should give you an error that you have not given a particular type to this variable, okay. So how do you deal with that kind of situation, right? So what you actually use is a setting called NoImplicitAny. So that setting is actually present in the TSConfig file, and TSConfig file or TypeScript config file is something which actually deserves its own video. That's why I'm not going to go too much in depth in that file, but right now I'm just going to tell you how to actually enable NoImplicitAny, okay. So here in the terminal, or sorry, in the VS code, I'm gonna start a terminal, and here I'm gonna say TSC or TypeScript compiler hyphen or minus init for initialization. I press enter, and you can see that we have a TSConfig file here, okay. So in this TSConfig file, you will actually see all the settings that are available in the TypeScript, okay. Now the ones that are commented, they are not actually being used by the TypeScript to compile your code right now, and the ones that are not commented are actually used by the TypeScript compiler, okay. So in here, okay, you will actually see a setting called implicit any, okay. So I'm just gonna search for it, implicit, yep, here. So here we have NoImplicitAny, and it is right now commented, which means our TypeScript compiler is not actually using this setting, okay. So if I just uncomment it, okay, I say that, okay, I do not want TypeScript compiler to implicitly think that a particular variable or a parameter in a function is of any type. So I uncommented the line, and now create a function, and let's just say my function. I do not expect you to understand how functions work. I'm just explaining something, and like you will understand what I'm trying to do here. So in the function, if I give a argument, okay, a, now here you can see an error, very explicit error, that a is declared but its value is never first of all read. So this is an error. Then we have this error, a is implicitly has an any type error, okay. So this error is coming from the setting that we actually did in the TSConfig file. So here we did the NoImplicitAny setting, and that's why this error is coming, okay. Here it is very good for functions. For functions, it works very well. So if I just say a is equals to, I don't know, 8, okay, now you can see that the first error is gone, and the only error that remains is a implicitly has an any type, okay. This is the error that remains. The error comes because of our TSConfig file, and these kind of errors actually help you to write very good code, very manageable, maintainable, scalable code in your production application. So these kind of settings are very useful. TSConfig have a ton of settings. I cannot go into everything all the time, so we are just like seeing one thing right now, and that's how it works, okay. We are getting an error here, so I'll just remove it, and this is what I wanted to talk about any and NoImplicitAny in this video. So we have discussed about any and NoImplicitAny in TypeScript. Now in the next section, we are going to discuss about what are type annotation in TypeScript. So let's meet in the next section. Till then, bye.